Hey guys, Nian here. So today I'm going to be talking about what I feel the order is amongst the characters currently in the game in terms of power as of the Hidden Realms update. So a couple things I should get out of the way first. This list is not going to be based off of taking lunar items at all, because if you do that, all characters, with the exception of Acrid, would all pretty much be equal. So there's no point in listing that off like that. And then secondly here, it's the list, how I'm going to do it is going to be based off of character strength without relying on a combination of certain items in a run. So essentially what that means is characters that have an easier time for longer with the worst run imaginable. So yeah, we'll just get to it, list them off first, and then briefly talk about why I have them listed in the order that I do. So yeah, number one would be Acrid, followed by Rex, Mercenary, Loader, Commando, Engineer, Multi, Artificer, and Huntress. Now I know this is subjective, I guess, like this is my opinion, but I feel like the first four are undisputedly the best compared to the other five characters in the list below them. But yeah, we'll just briefly talk about that for a moment. So the reason why Acrid is number one is because he does something no other character in the game can currently do. His damage is percent HP based, so what this means is it is constant, right? It doesn't matter at what point in the game you are, how slow you're going, what your items look like, you will always finish everything at the same rate, assuming you have like no on hit effects, because the initial application of poisons can proc on hits, right? So what you do as Acrid is you just run around, run in circles, and if you just keep applying, if you do have some on hit effects, just keep applying your poison to the target, even though it's already poisoned, be that the teleporter boss or whatever, right? So as long as you're just throwing your abilities out, you're fine. And yeah, you always stay relevant. All that you need is mobility and survivability, which are the easiest things to come by. So second on the list of Rex I always felt was really good, and until the introduction of Acrid, I thought Rex was the best character in the game. And well, I mean, because of what we just talked about with Acrid, that bumped Rex down to second, but he is still insanely powerful. For some reason, they like increased his healing and his damage from last patch, as well as adding a new alternate shift or utility. I guess depending on if you're playing on console or not, just call it utility. And what it does is the cooldown on it is about 3 seconds. I could be wrong, might be 2. And it does damage in a cone in front of him. It does 100% more damage than his base right click, so I think it's 550% damage. And it uses 20% of his max life, but as long as you hit minimum 2 targets or more, you heal for the HP that you used back and then some. So his sustain is insane, his damage is just nuts, and yeah, he's just all around insanely strong. He really doesn't need items at all, other than like a couple of core items, but those just help to make him even better, right? So now, third and fourth are Mercenary and Loader. I guess I can talk about them both. I feel in terms of power, they're almost identical. I could literally just rate them on the same line, but the reason why I put Mercenary higher than Loader is because Mercenary can one-shot the Alloy Worship unit on Siren's Call, unless it gets patched as of this update, and that just makes him, as far as I'm concerned, better. Now, Loader might be able to do that, I've been told, but I've never bothered to try, so it would probably be a lot harder, because Mercenary, all you have to do is use his utility and land like inside the worship unit, and you just one-shot it. Takes literally like 2 seconds. So if Mercenary couldn't do that, I would literally rate Mercenary and Loader identically, right? Like equal. But because of that, Mercenary is third, Loader is fourth. Now, Commando is fifth in the list. I feel like he is the most balanced, the most average. He does need items. So like from this point on, fifth and down in the list, the characters do start to actually need items to stay relevant. The top 4 are just always good no matter what. So yeah, so Commando needs he does need certain things for sure. Ukulele, his AoE sucks, and on top of that, just a couple on hits, not a lot, not all of them, and you can get decently far. But then after like loop 3 and on, if you don't pretty much have everything, it's awful. It sucks. Probably should just obliterate at 7. The reason why I have engineer below commando, so 6 in the list, is because I feel like engineer out of the remaining characters below him is the easier character to get a god run on. You can do it without bustling fungus, I think is what it's called. I have done it multiple. I've actually had more god runs without it than with it. All you have to do is be smarter about your turret placements, and it's not that hard. I would highly recommend spider mines over the default mines because the default mines are below. But yeah, it's why I have engineer where I have engineer. Next up is multi. Multi needs a lot of items. He definitely needs mobility and damage, not as much as I feel Artificer would need. So I guess we're talking about Artificer here. I would rate Artificer and multi equally, by the way. But I have a preference, because like I said, this list is subjective. I have a preference to multi over Artificer, which is why he's one up on the list when essentially they could be equal, kind of like Mercenary and Loader earlier. So yeah, it's multi. Artificer, I feel like her biggest downfall, her damage is great. I mean, she has, you could argue she has decent survivability because of her utility, but her utility is not, she's the only character in the game with the exception of Engineer that has no mobility skill at all. But Engineer makes up for that fact by his virtue of his turrets, distracting everything for him, right? But yeah, Artificer has nothing like that. She does have an alternate R, which is a mobility, but I've tried using it a few times, and sacrificing damage for a mobility skill it feels awful. Like, I don't know why they decided to do that. I feel like her R as it is right now should be her alternate R should be her alternate utility, but that's just me. That's why she's 7th in the list, or 8th in the list. I apologize. And now the 9th and final character, Huntress. Oh man. I've had numerous runs on her where I've had like insane starts. We've got like all the greens you could ask for. We've got a couple a legendary or two that aren't garbage, you know, like a Tesla and a beautiful behemoth. And it's still awful. It feels slow. It just feels like a slug. It's painful. This character's biggest issue, I think, is the fact that they decided to give her auto aim. So because of that, her primary, like her left click, is slow. It's slow, it doesn't hit hard, and you can't target what you want to target. Her abilities have insane cooldowns. Like her right click has like an 8-second cooldown, I think. I'm just throwing out numbers. It should be close, 7 or 8 seconds. And her R is like a 16 or 17-second cooldown. I think it depends on if you use Rain of Arrows or Ballista. I think Ballista has a slightly longer cooldown. But oh man, it's awful. The only like saving grace with this character is her mobility is insane. But I mean, it's still, I don't know. I personally have the worst time with Huntress. I feel like she's the worst character in the game. Yeah, especially comparing her to anyone else. Does that mean she's not fun? No, this list is not a list in terms of like who's fun to play. You can play anyone, honestly, but I do feel like Huntress is the least consistent. I guess with this being said, characters listed, talked about, my favorite character in the whole list is Commando, followed very closely by Artificer, and if you notice, you know, I put Commando in the middle and Artificer near the bottom. They do have, like, Commando, I mean, is fine, middle of the pack, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him at all, I feel like he's in a great spot. Artificer, I feel like she could use a little bit of love. I honestly feel like if they gave her a better shift, her utility, she could be better, but that doesn't mean she's not fun to play. I enjoy her. I enjoy all the characters, with the exception being Huntress. Every time I have to play Huntress, I just like roll my eyes. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully this helped. These are just my thoughts, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.